Hello, I'm Morden Kanan, author of Equivalent Energistics. I'm going to show you the new version today, 0.7. It is a complete rewrite of the previous versions of the mod. Many things behave differently. We're going to cover that in this video. At the end of the video, I'll also provide some information for people who are upgrading from a previous version. There's some things you have to do to make things work properly, though you shouldn't lose anything in the process. For those of you who aren't familiar with Equivalent Energistics, Equivalent Energistics is a bridge mod that allows you to use EMC from either Project E or Equivalent Exchange 3 in auto crafting with AE. Essentially, it teaches your AE network about EMC and how to use it in its auto crafting recipes. To get started in the new version of the mod, we now use EMC cells. These are similar to the storage cells that you're familiar with AE for storing items, except the EMC cells are dedicated to storing EMC. They come in several tiers, each with various different storage capacities. So the recipes for these are different depending on whether you're using EE3 or Project E. The E3 recipe is some minium dust and quartz crystals and a gold processor for the first tier. And the recipe is the same except that it uses some blue covalence dust if you're doing Project E. For the second tier storage cell, it's the same recipe, but it uses three of the previous, as well as a calculation processor, and similarly covalence dust instead of minium dust. This proceeds the same way all the way up through the different tiers of cells. These are actually the storage components that you turn into a cell, very similar to how you do with AE. Each one has a different capacity. When you get to the higher tiers, the highest tiers are crafted with nether stars. So there is only one recipe between the two mods to get to the highest tier things. Then of course you can take your whatever storage component you've created and you can craft it in this recipe to turn it into an actual cell. This works for any of the cells, and of course, just like with standard AE, if you have an empty cell like this tier 1 cell right here, which can store about 1,000,000 EMC, if you shift and right click, it will break it down into the component that was made to use it and the empty cell housing. Of course, you can then craft these together just like normal AE to create the drive. You can only do this if the drive is empty though. If you are using Project E instead of Equivalent Exchange 3, there are some other things to know about these drives. These drives are compatible with relays, condensers, and things like that. They can be used as a storage for the EMC directly from that mod. Say you have your energy collector flower here. As you can see, it is charging the storage cell, similar to it would do with a Klein star. They can be used in almost any place a Klein star can. The exception here is that they do not currently work in the transmutation tablet. That's something that I will be looking into for a future version. But otherwise, they can be treated as a Klein star in almost any way. These are all the different drives for the different capacities. So about 1,000,000, 4,000,000, 16,000,000, 64,000,000, 256,000,000, a little over 1,000,000,000, 4,000,000,000, and 16,000,000,000 EMC storage. The drives do show their capacity. As you see, this drive is empty. This drive is a little more than 75% full. This drive is dead full. And the colors of the indicator lights indicate this. A little different than your normal AE drives, but this still has plenty of space. It's below 75%. This one is 75% or over, and this guy's full, so he's red. He can't take anything else. Now, how do you generate EMC to put on these drives? That is done with a device named a condenser. Again, the recipe is similar but not the same between the two mods. This is a basic condenser. The condenser comes in multiple tiers. The next tier is the basic condenser plus diamonds, makes the next tier of condenser. That plus emeralds makes the next, and that plus nether stars equals the top tier ultimate condenser. Condensers are hooked up to your AE network. They indicate their status with lights similar to other AE devices. They also provide some extra information via WALA. A condenser, when provided with something to condense, will turn it to EMC. If for whatever reason it cannot turn it to EMC, for example, this condenser, this basic EMC condenser here cannot, it will produce a particle effect to let you know that it's jammed. If you have WALA, the WALA status will actually tell you what's wrong. In this case, it's telling me I have no place to put the EMC for this condenser, for this item. And I can easily rectify that just by throwing an EMC drive in here. And the particle effect goes away and the item has been condensed to EMC. The EMC will appear to your network as these crystal items here. These are not exactly real items. You can pull them out of your network, but just because it says I have 11 of these, they will automatically be converted into whatever level is needed as long as the EMC is available for any crafting done. If I do end up in a situation like I was in, where I have an item that is essentially jammed in the condenser, I can extract that item with a hopper or other pipes. Right now there is a hopper underneath this condenser into this chest. So if I just take away the redstone signal, as you see, the item was removed from the hopper. This is the basic condenser. That's pretty much all it does. You can pump items into it. It will only accept items with EMC. It will only accept items whose EMC is low enough for it to process. This condenser can only process items of approximately 8,000 EMC and lower. If you want to condense items that are larger, you need to move up to the next tier of condenser, our advanced condenser. This operates identically to the basic condenser, except that it can take items of about 80,000 EMC and will happily plow through them. Again, you can extract any jammed item from the condenser via a hopper underneath it, and it will eject it into the chest. Additionally, this condenser supports redstone control. By right-clicking on it with a piece of redstone in your hand, you can control its behavior for redstone. So you can tell it, so first off, it has several settings. None is it does not respond, nor does it send redstone. You can configure it to emit a redstone signal if it is blocked, if it would be giving off those particle effects. You can have it emit redstone when it's not blocked, either idle or running, but no problems. Emit when it's condensing items. Emit when it's not condensing items. To be turned off by a redstone signal, to be turned on by a redstone signal, and back to none. Of particular usefulness is this emit when blocked. So I can throw an item in here and it just gets condensed down, no problem. But if I come out here and I take that drive out, so now that's going to be blocked. So I throw it in there and it becomes, so now I can detect that it is blocked because it is outputting a redstone signal, which I can see, and run redstone circuitry. If I want to get even more creative with that, well, I can tell it to emit when it's not blocked. At which point, so right now, it's not blocked, so it's emitting a redstone signal. It's going to prevent this hopper from moving items. If I throw this in here now, It's going to automatically eject items as needed because it'll eject items into the hopper as needed because it knows it's blocked. The next tier is the improved condenser. It has all the features of the advanced condenser. Uh, it also has the ability to import and extract items all by itself. Simply shift right clicking on a side configures it for import or export, and putting any inventory like a chest next to it will allow it to simply pull items in automatically and condense them. It's blocked because it has no place to put the items. If I throw that in there, it will condense the items. Um, the output configured on this is always preferred. The condensers, if they really get jammed up, they will try to eject items into storage in your EMC network, item storage. If configured for output, it will always prefer to output to the chest rather than the actual EMC network, so it'll try chest first. This condenser will also accept items that have no EMC value, which means that it can be used as a rudimentary sorter of items that have EMC value from items that don't. Items that have EMC value will be condensed to crystals in your network, and items that don't will be ejected to the chest or ejected into your EMC network. This guy can do items of about 800,000 EMC. And then we have the ultimate EMC condenser. He has all the features of the previous EMC condensers, but can do items of any EMC value. He has no maximum. These blocks do require a channel. They do consume power, and they consume power based on the EMC of the value they're condensing. Default in the configs is 0.01 AE per EMC. Which means that for every 100 EMC, they consume 1 AE, and they do behave like standard AE blocks in that if you end up with too many of them on a line, things will shut down, that sort of thing. The next item is the EMC Crafter. This is what you're going to do with the EMC you have in your network. This is the recipe for the EMC Crafter, both for EE3 and Project E, and this also has upgraded versions using the same recipes other than the center item as previous. Crafters are connected to the network like any other AE block by themselves. They don't do much. In order to activate them, you have to teach them about your equivalent exchange recipes. For EE3, that's putting your alchemical tome or algonomicon or whatever it happens to be called in the version of EE3 you're using. For Project E, where it does not have a tome like this, a recipe has been provided here to craft your tome. Once you have this tome, simply right-clicking with it will link it to you. Now this tome knows that you are its owner. And it now knows all of the recipes you do. So as an example, if I disconnect these normal assemblers here, as you see, there is no door recipe. If I then put this tome in, still no door recipe, but if I come over to my table here and I get myself a door and throw it in, I have now learned the door. And if I come back here and look, sometimes you may have to eject the book and put it back, and now I have the door recipe. Now that I have the door recipe there, I can craft a door using crystals. It will automatically figure out how much EMC is needed to craft it, and it will craft a door. And there it is. Now, you only need a book in a single one of the assemblers on your network. All assemblers on your network know all of the recipes known in any book. If you have multiple books, say different people's books, you can load them into different crafters, and your network will learn how to craft everything in all of the books. This is in combination. You still need crafting CPUs and molecular assemblers for standard items. I mean, this is an add-on to your existing auto crafting, not necessarily a replacement for it. So if I look at these, they know how to make doors. I just taught my EQE blocks here how to make doors. So if I look, I'm going to see that now it's going to craft with wood because it sees that it has others. It has other recipes for doors. Your standard crafting is always going to take precedence over AE, over EQE. You can change this by coming into your interfaces and changing the priority. The default priority for the EMC assembler is -1. So if you make these less than -1, then the EMC assembler will take priority. And of course, if you don't have anything on your network that knows how to craft these, then the EMC assembler is automatically going to have priority because it's the only thing that knows. So now if I attempt to craft these, it wants to make them out of EMC. This does have support for parallel crafting. It does have support for all of the various bells and whistles that AE supports. So if I kick off a giant craft here and I go look, you can see that the crafting is going on all over the place. Now, and you can see the crafting's going quite fast. So there's a few things going on here. First off, the assemblers have different speeds. This one is faster than that one. This one is faster than that one. This one is faster than that one. In addition, this one can craft 1 recipe at a time. This one can craft 4. And this one can craft 8. So the higher tiers not only craft faster, but craft more at a time. So progressing to the higher tiers can make your auto crafting on your network significantly faster. In the display here, these crystal quantities will change automatically based on how much EMC is available to the system. It's always going to roll it up to the highest crystal it can. In addition, you're going to have this indicator that shows you exactly how much EMC is in your system total. So you can always check on how much EMC you have stored just by looking for this item. This item cannot be removed from your network. It's just a display item. So that's largely it. You have multiple tiers of crafters, each one faster than the previous, that work in concert with your existing crafting network. You can teach new items to your network just by learning them on your transmutation tablet. If using Equivalent Exchange instead of Project E, of course, this is going to be learned through your research table, and you won't be using the book I show here. You'll be using your Equivalent Exchange book, which would then be installed in one of these assemblers, and but otherwise it should work identically. There is also a creative mode cell, which can store infinite EMC and appears to contain infinite EMC, so you can throw that in if you're just testing and not worry about EMC values. That's pretty much all there is to it, except for upgrades. So, for upgrades from a previous version, here is a very simple test world that I have upgraded from an old version of Equivalent Energistics. Some things you're going to notice when you upgrade. All auto crafting you have configured is going to stop. It's not going to work anymore. Your crafters and condensers should still be there. They will have been converted to the base level crafters and condensers from the new version of the mod. They won't do anything immediately. That is because you do not have EMC cells in your system. You'll just have normal storage cells. So the first thing you're going to have to do is craft yourself some EMC storage cells, get those into your network. The next thing is if you're using project equivalent exchange, you may have to replace the book, because at some point they changed the name of the book, they changed the item for the book, so the book that's in there from Equivalent Energistics may not, from equivalent exchange may not be valid anymore, and you'll need to replace that book with the new version of the book. Finally, you'll notice that any crystals you have stored in your network are listed as deprecated. These crystals are no longer valid. They are not used anymore. So there are a couple of ways to convert these crystals, and probably one of the simplest is just to pull them out into your inventory and then just put them back in. And when you put them back in, they will automatically be converted to the new versions of crystals. Of course, you can only put in up to the storage you've added. Like, this drive must be full now, or pretty close to it. Yep. So let me get a real big drive, throw it in there, and throw these in there, and there we go. So now I have a lot of EMC stored. This is a one-time conversion. Another way you can do this is to use an export bus into a condenser and pipe the crystals through the condenser again. They will get recondensed into the new versions. There's no conversion penalty there, so you should get all the EMC you had before. Once your crystals are converted, your book is updated, and you've got drives, then your system should be operational again. One other thing, when it comes to power costs, I was commenting that the condensers cost a certain amount of AE to condense an item. So in most cases that's true. Crystals do not cost any energy to convert. In addition, if you have a drive or a Klein star that has EMC on it, you can throw that drive in, and as long as you have sufficient EMC storage space, all of the EMC on that drive will be put into another drive on your network for no cost, and the empty drive will be ejected into your network. So this is an easy way to transfer all of the EMC on a drive into another network. This also works for Klein stars. If you, or should also work for Klein stars, which will allow you to pump the EMC into your network for 0 energy cost. Of course, for condensing normal items, that's not the case. Hope you enjoy the mod. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the Feed the Beast thread, or in the forums, or come visit me on my Discord channel. Thanks a lot.